That doesn't even count the media. So when we talk about Trump struggling with the pandemic, I have a rant on this channel against Trump and the pandemic, frustrated with him and Fauci and how he handled it and how he embraced big pharma and really started all of this. Fair criticism. But that is the take of someone who is playing checkers, not chess. It's the take of a simpleton. It's true, but let's dig deeper. What he really struggled with was an all-out attack from when he first got into office to it ramped up in the election year. Not an accident. He struggled with an all-out attack against him by the deep administrative state. How many of the 50,000 employees at the federal level that have all this input in legislation, judicial parts, and science and health, how many of them do you think were America First? Just guess. You could probably count them on one hand. And the ones who were America First, how many were out as America First, like openly trying to fight for it? You probably count them in one hand out of 50,000 employees. That's the problem. This is the former response pandemic director, Deborah Birx, in my opinion, admitting that she lied to the president and the country.
Here's Deborah Birx. She's the former White House COVID response director, again on Fox News.
I knew these vaccines were not going to protect against infection, and I think we overplayed the vaccines, and it made people then worry that it's not going to protect against severe disease and hospitalization. It will, but let's be very clear.
What did you say, Mai?
Here's Deborah Birx. She's the former White House COVID response director, again on Fox News.
I knew these vaccines were not going to protect against infection.
What did you say?
What did you say, nigga?
Again on Fox News.
I knew these vaccines were not going to protect against infection, and I think we overplayed the vaccines, and it made people then worry that it's not going to protect against severe disease and hospitalization. It will, but let's be very clear.
I don't know. Let me hear that one more time. What did she say?
On Fox News.
I knew these vaccines were not going to protect against infection. And I think we overplayed the vaccines, and it made people then worry that it's not going to protect against severe disease and hospitalization. It will, but let's be very clear. 50% of the people who died from the Omicron surge were older, vaccinated.
What? Stop the quote. I knew these vaccines were not going to protect against infection. Really, Deborah Birx? But somehow you forgot to mention that as people were being fired from their jobs for not taking this on the premise that if they took it, they would never be infected? When do you get criminally charged? Soon, we hope. Here's Deborah.
That is just an example of one of the 50,000 employees that whoever becomes president, you're going to have to deal with. In my opinion, they would literally lie and cause unliving of Americans and people anywhere to protect their power. That's what we're up against. That's not an excuse. That just has to be acknowledged as just what it is. These deep state, administrative state workers, they don't need to get like direct marching orders. They know what the cabal wanted. We know what they want, and you're not in the deep state. They didn't care about accurate information, in my opinion. You heard her say it right there. When did she come to that realization? Why are we now just hearing that for the first time? They wanted to save democracy. All that stuff, the pandemic came in 2020. So I want to do the disclaimer since I'm talking about the pandemic to make sure if YouTube pulls a video that it's clear. I'm not telling anybody to do anything or not. I'm not making any medical suggestions. I'm talking about the government response. Are we still allowed to criticize that? I'm talking about the government response. Am I allowed to have my own opinion? I'm on my own body. Are we allowed to do that? I'm not telling anybody to do anything. And I do not tell people to do what doctors say. I say, listen to the doctors. Ultimately, it's your decision. So that's where Trump messed up. He listened to these experts. I don't have to do what the experts tell me to do. That's why I was hyped when DeSantis said, no. I'm looking at other experts, and those other experts, they're not telling me what to do. I'm making the decision. So it kind of irks me sometimes where you hear people say, well, listen to your doctor. And they kind of, I don't know if they say that, but some people, it kind of feels like they say, do whatever your doctor tells you to do. My doctor is not my daddy. I'll do whatever the hell I want to do. But I do think you should listen to all information. So they wanted to fortify this cabal, wanted to fortify the election, in my opinion, by lying, making Trump look like a buffoon. And is he the smartest person in the world? No, but they obviously helped to make him look real stupid, because they could have actually helped, like when he misspoke about bleach and stuff. They could have cleared that up instead of making him look more stupid. Administrative state media and undermining him. Remember this article, The Secret History of the Shadow Campaign That Saved the 2020 Election? That's why the participants want the secret history. This is in Time magazine. That's why the participants want the secret history of the 2020 election told. They want credit for it. Like they're Superman, like they're some Justice League. Even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream, a well-funded cabal. I didn't write this. Make sure this is bigger. That's why the participants want the secret history of the 2020 election told, even though it sounds like a paranoid fever dream, a well-funded cabal of powerful people ranging across industries and ideologies. So it's not just the administrative state. Like all the corporations went Black Lives Matter at that time. We know now it's a completely corrupt. It was always corrupt. They knew, in my opinion, it was corrupt from the start. It was all designed for this, to get Trump out of office. So he's up against all of that. They changed rules. Those rules still haven't been changed, y'all. The Pennsylvania laws that have been deemed unconstitutional, that they changed the law for mail-in ballot when they're not set up for mail-in ballots, and mail-in ballots are actually with certain exceptions on a mass level, certainly go against their constitution. It's still legal. They're still going to do that for the midterms. We'll see if they change it I don't know what's taking so long. See if they'll change it by the general election. But they changed rules. These are facts. They changed rules and laws, steered media coverage, and control the flow of information. They weren't R-wording the election. They were fortifying it. Don't worry. This isn't a stick-up. I'm fortifying your wallet just to make sure that I got everything in it. Then I'm going to give it back to you. I'm saving democracy. This isn't a stick-up. They're just fortifying it. That's all. That's all they were doing, was fortifying it. Doesn't that make you feel better? It was nothing unsavory about it. If you have questions, don't worry. Don't ask questions. Don't. Like Black Lives Matter and all that. Why are you looking back to Black Lives Matter and the mansions and the set it off, Patrice Cullors and them? Why are you looking at that? Why are you looking at the Whitmer lies? The FBI basically entrapped these dodo birds into this scheme that the FBI basically created. They were just fortifying things. Don't worry about it. It's all good. And they believe the public needs to understand the system's fragility in order to ensure that democracy in America endures. So why do I bring that up? Because the staffers in DC, these administrative staffers, they all know that too. Nobody has to give them an order. All I have to do is read the newspaper. And they're in DC. They know, they talk. That's the goal in order to save democracy. And that's how they justify violating your rights and lying to you and even causing people to be unlived. It's okay. We're saving your democracy and fortifying things for you. It's for the better of the country.